Terrifying spirits of the cursed amphitheater, 10 sinister stories revealed from the haunted past. It loomed in the heart of Maplewood, the crumbling amphitheater, once a vibrant focal point, now a rusted relic whispering tales of horror. Ghostly echoes of applause had long faded, replaced by tales that darkened the hearts of those who dared to speak of it. Benches that held lovers and dreamers now sat desolate, rotting under vines, as accusations of disappearances, eerie melodies, and anguished spirits clung to the very air one breathed. The first ghastly tale: a family vanished after an exhilarating summer concert set the gloom heavy over the town like a predator's shadow. Everyone feared it, but no soul sought to unearth the truth. But tonight, Sarah, a weary single mother, felt that darkness clawing at her, and it brought her son, Ethan, dangerously close to that cursed stage. As twilight poured over the town, Sarah sat, exhausted, pouring coffee for the last of the late-night customers at the diner. She watched her children outside, Ethan with the daring spark of adventure, and little Mia, clutching her stuffed bear like a lifeboat in a storm. Laughter drifted in, a soft balm over the evening stings. But that calm was about to shatter. Ethan, fueled by tantalizing rumors of the amphitheater's twisted past, slipped out under the blanket of night, flashlight in hand, seeking thrills in the demented shadows. Just a boy, probably exploring, an officer had grunted hours later when Sarah's frantic calls brought them to her door. But it was more than just worry gnawing at her, it was dread, a mother's instinct screaming about the evils that lurked in the silence. Samantha had only meant to protect. But as minutes turned hours, that protecting hand felt weak. Ethan's giggles were too few, the night too heavy for his absence. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sarah's heart thudded as she stepped toward that cursed amphitheater, shadows wrapping around her like fog. Every inch felt like stepping deeper into a trap. It was the silence that loomed largest, swallowing the sound of her own breathing. Ethan! She called, voice trembling, echoing back in whispers that felt like the spirits themselves responding. Her feet moved cautiously as if they could sense the darkness that thrived in corners where sunlight had abandoned. As she crossed the threshold, an unsettling chill caressed her skin, making her tremble. Thoughts rushed back, stories of a performer who never left the stage and a boy who never returned home. Each step into that haunted abyss birthed new dread. Ethan's voice, soft but desperate, called to her. "Mom! Over here!" Panic surged. She ran deeper into the maw, but every shadow twisted into fear. Would she unearth her son, or would she too vanish within the amphitheater's storied curse? The darkness intensified, time twisted, and with a final, desperate scream swallowed by shadows, the amphitheater waited, ever hungry for another soul. The air thickened as Sarah plunged deeper into the echoing darkness, each step unraveling the last threads of her composure. Ethan! Her voice trembled, the name felt like a prayer slipping into the void. Muffled whispers twirled around her, teasing her with fragments of laughter and cries of despair. The beam of her flashlight cut through the darkness, but the shadows twisted, shifting like living things. The once vibrant colors of the amphitheater turned to hues of gray, dead, and fading, while the silence clawed at the edges of her sanity. Panic gripped her heart, tightening like a vice. Why did he come here? She thought, shaking her head as if to disperse the dread that suffocated her. Ethan was too young, too innocent. Yet, that cursed place had a pull, a seductive whisper that called out to the curious. "Mom! This way!" His voice broke through the oppressive air, igniting a flicker of hope in her chest. Sarah followed the sound, weaving through decaying benches and festering vines. But with every step, the fear lurked closer, thick and palpable. She felt eyes on her, unseen but ever watchful. "Mom! You have to see." His voice was different this time, urgent, almost frantic. A chill crept down her spine as she rounded the corner to the cracked stage, its once grand arch now a menacing frame. There, near the edge, she saw him, a faint silhouette, almost ethereal, beckoning her closer. Ethan! Her heart pounded, but as she reached the stage, the air shivered with intensity. The almost acoustic space magnified her rising dread. When she arrived, her son was gone. It was as if he had never been there at all. The place swallowed his laughter, like a predator feasting on its prey. She blinked, the panic clawing at her throat. No, no. This isn't happening. The shadows seemed to warp around her, twisting and snarling, as an unsettling melody began to seep through the cracks of the walls, haunting notes that curled like smoke, wrapping around her. The sound was sweet yet sinister, a lullaby that promised rest but carried peril. And then she felt it, a cool hand grasping her wrist. Sarah gasped, yanking away, her breath coming in desperate gulps. "Who's there?" Laughter chilling and hollow filled the amphitheater. The shadows danced, a macabre performance she could neither understand nor escape from. A figure emerged from the darkness, cloaked and grinning, an unsettling familiarity to its features. "You seek your son, but what will you give in return?" "Let him go!" Sarah screamed, her voice raw with fear. But the figure merely laughed, the laughter entwined with the wind, growing louder, drowning her in despair. She turned to run, but the shadows snapped around her legs like chains, dragging her back to the stage, a dark fate manifesting. Every story she had heard rushed to her mind, warnings echoing, those who ventured into the amphitheater never returned. Panic surged, fueling her desperate escape as she wrestled against the grip of darkness. She had to find Ethan. She had to leave. But with the haunting song swelling in her ears and the figure looming, her resolve began to crack. With every heartbeat, the amphitheater became more alive, pulsing with a thirst for souls. "No! I won't be another tale," she cried, summoning every ounce of strength to break free. The shadows recoiled, howling in rage, and for the briefest second, light flickered, but in that moment of hope, her flashlight flickered out. The laughter echoed around her, wrapping her in the arms of despair. "Where are you, Ethan?" The question hung heavily in the stale air, unanswered. What monstrous truth awaited her in the depths of that cursed place, and would she discover it before it claimed her too? As the shadows shifted closer, her heart thundered, would she become just another forlorn spirit trapped in the amphitheater's nightmarish grasp? The air grew colder, pressing against Sarah like a blanket of ice. Darkness clung to her skin, creeping into her mind. She stumbled backward, her heart racing as she desperately searched for a way out. Panic twisted in her chest, a constricting band. The laughter echoed still, a cruel parody of joy that made her skin crawl. Was she losing her mind? She could hardly see. The flashlight, now extinguished, left her in a suffocating void where shapes swirled and shifted, eternally out of reach. Anxiety clawed at her throat as the shadows seemed to swell around her, almost alive, feeding on her fear. "Ethan!" she shouted again, voice catching. But the sound ricocheted eerily through the amphitheater, swallowed by the swarming blackness. With trembling hands, she felt the walls, searching for anything, an exit, a clue. Her fingertips brushed against the cool stone, slick with humidity. The whispers danced around her, forming a cacophony of anguish and laughter. Were they mocking her, or crying out for her to join them? She shivered, instinctively retreating. Suddenly, a new sound broke through the faintest of footsteps, echoing on the cracked ground. Heart racing, she turned towards the noise. "Ethan?" Her voice cracked, revealing the frail hope she clung to. "There!" A figure emerged from the shadows, its outline becoming clearer. She felt a desperate surge of joy until the likeness became unsettlingly familiar. The hair, the stance, it all seemed like Ethan, yet something was wrong. The boyish eyes, those innocent orbs, were void of warmth. They glinted with something cold and hollow. "Mom! Help me!" he squeaked, but it wasn't Ethan's voice. It was twisted, broken, climbing from the depths of something unspeakable. "No! No! This isn't real." She pinched herself, but the stinging pain didn't break the fever dream. The shadows pulsed, entwining the boyish body, dragging him down. She felt her heart fracturing, visions of him being lost in darkness more than she could bear. "Ethan!" She lunged towards him, adrenaline surging through her limbs as she fought to break the shrouded bonds. Instantly, warm dark hands seized her, pulling her away from him. She heard a soft whimper, a sound of despair that reached deep into her soul. The cloaked figure returned, its grin wider, sharper. "You cannot save him. He belongs to us. A bargain must be made." "No. I'll do anything," Sarah screamed, her voice breaking under the weight of fear. "Please." The figure leaned closer, its breath cold and empty. "Would you sacrifice your own light, your own memories to save him? Can you abandon what makes you you?" Visions of her life flashed before her: Ethan's first steps, his laugh, the warmth of their home. Each moment felt heavier than the last, and she could feel something inside her trembling at the thought of losing them. "You don't understand," she cried, panic flaring. "You have no power over me." For a heartbeat, the shadows hesitated. Then came the chilling laughter, echoing through the amphitheater like a funeral dirge. "You will pay, Sarah. You will pay dearly." The figure shoved her back, and the darkness surged, overwhelming her senses. As she stumbled, caught between the shadows and the fanged grin, a terrifying realization washed over her. The whispers grew louder, chanting a name over and over, her name. "Help! Help me!" The call of her son faded. And with it, the last light in her heart dimmed to a flicker. She stood on the precipice of a choice dark and damning, aware that every moment brought her closer to a terrible reckoning. Would she embrace the darkness to save Ethan, or succumb to the lurking horrors that awaited? Just then, a crack of light pierced the overwhelming gloom, illuminating a door she couldn't remember seeing before, beckoning her to escape if only for a moment. But what lay beyond? Could she step through, or would the shadows bring her back to their suffocating embrace? Time slipped away, and uncertainty loomed as the whispers faded back into silence, awaiting her answer. The light was blinding, harsh against the oppressive darkness that had swallowed her whole. Sarah blinked rapidly, the brightness flashing through her mind like lightning. Was this her chance? She'd come to find Ethan, to rescue him from the grips of whatever nightmare had ensnared them both. But that door, it felt like a siren's call, inviting yet deadly. She hesitated, her heart pounding in rhythm with the whispers that danced around her. "Step through," they urged. "Leave the boy behind, it's safer." Every rational thought screamed at her to run. But how could she abandon her son? "Ethan!" she shouted, voice ragged, almost like a plea. "I'm coming." With conviction fueling her, she dashed towards the door, the shadows splintering around her like shattered glass. The cold hands grasped at her ankles, pulling her back, fingers featherlight yet a binding grip. Fear twisted the air, thick and suffocating. Just a few more steps she could reach him. Suddenly, the floor dropped out beneath her. She stumbled, arms flailing as the ground vanished, and in its place was a yawning chasm of darkness that seemed to whisper her deepest fears. The laughter returned, mocking her desperation, echoing off unseen walls. Panic threatened to consume her whole. She fell, and the darkness wrapped around her, pulling her deeper into its embrace. With a gasp, Sarah landed hard, pain shooting through her side. She lay there for a heartbeat, disoriented. Shadows circled above her like vultures, their forms blending with the inky blackness. "Don't lose hope," a familiar voice urged, metallic and distant. "Ethan!" The sound escaped her lips unbidden, her heart raced even faster. But it was different this time. The weight of dread clung to the air, warning her of the danger ahead. "Mom! Over here!" The voice cracked, drowning in the echo of the shadows. Pushing herself up, she looked around. The landscape had changed. No more amphitheater, now she found herself trapped in a nightmarish maze, walls clothed in darkness, littered with remnants of broken dreams, shattered toys, long-forgotten photographs, and faded edges of memories that felt eerily familiar. "Please," she whispered, overwhelmed by agony, "where are you, Ethan?" A shard of light glimmered in the distance. She sprinted towards it, every ounce of her being demanding she find her son, but the shadows closed in around her, hissing and coiling as if alive. Each step felt heavier, dragging her down, wearing her resolve thin. Suddenly, she was not alone. Figures surfaced from the corners of her vision, faint shapes twisted with familiarity. Faces of neighbors, lost loved ones, and other whispers of the past stared back at her, their mouths moving, but the sounds were drowned by the laughter, deafening and bitter. "No! Stay away!" She covered her ears, but it only grew louder, the cacophony a storm of despair. Visions flickered within the shadows, Ethan smiling, laughing, running towards her, but always just out of reach. Without warning, the laughter turned to screams, shrieks of torment that clawed at her sanity. "You cannot save him. You must make the choice." The cloaked figure's voice echoed deep inside her mind, a serpent coiling around her thoughts. "I want tea. I want tea," she bellowed, tears streaming down her face. In that moment of clarity, she grasped for something, anything to anchor her. Something deep within her flickered to life, the love for her son. "Ethan! I'm coming!" As she moved towards the light, silhouettes lunged from the darkness, attempting to entangle her limbs, threatening to pull her back into the abyss. But she fought, primal instinct and maternal love igniting her strength. With one massive leap, she dove toward the light, a piercing brightness that enveloped her like a warm embrace. Would she reach Ethan, or would the shadows snatch her back for good? The door trembled, its frame alive with power, awaiting her final decision in a hellscape of reality and nightmares intertwined. Whatever lay behind the threshold could either free her or seal her fate forever. The moment Sarah collided with the light, it consumed her senses. She felt weightless, suspended in a space that held no time or echo of her agony. Was this what freedom felt like? Hope flickered in her chest, but it was fleeting, a candle in the wind. In a heartbeat, she landed on solid ground again, breathless. Emerging from the brilliance, she found herself in a dimly lit corridor lined with thick, damp stone walls. Flickering fluorescent lights barely held back the darkness, casting long shadows that writhed like serpents. A chill crept down her spine as hairs prickled at the nape of her neck. "Ethan!" she called again, her voice hoarse, desperate. The air tasted stale, carrying something sour and rotten. A sense of dread coiled tightly in her stomach, a warning gnawing at her instincts. The corridor stretched interminably before her, and every step felt like a dip into the cold pool of her worst fears. The walls whispered, faint murmurs forming words she couldn't quite catch. "Leave him. It's not worth it. He has gone." "No." She shook her head violently, determined to silence them. "I want to believe you." Each forward stride became a battle against the oppressive dark. The air thickened, smothering, as faint echoes of laughter wormed their way around her ears, mocking her vision of hope. The laughter transformed, shifting into sharp cries that echoed off the stone, the very sound of torment twisted in agony. Suddenly, a door appeared at the end of the corridor, standing slightly ajar, like a gaping mouth beckoning her closer. A flicker of light spilled from the crack, illuminating faded letters carved into the wood. "Do not enter," it warned. But she had come too far to turn back. With trembling hands, Sarah pushed the door wide open, and it creaked like a groan of despair. Her heart raced as she stepped inside. The room was sprawling with a low ceiling, an undertone of mold and decay permeating the air. Piles of discarded toys covered in dust lay strewn about like forgotten dreams, here a teddy bear, there a deflated ball, shadows of childhood abandoned. In the center, a large mirror dominated the wall, its surface cracked and dark. "Mom?" Ethan's voice dripped from the air like honey. It was sweet but sticky, full of hesitation. "Help me," Sarah's heart lurched. "Ethan! Where are you?" She rushed forward, desperation propelling her into the room. But the mirror caught her eye, reflecting a flicker of movement. She stepped closer, her breath catching as the glass reformed her world. What stared back was not just her reflection but a twisted version of herself, eyes hollow and sunken, lips drawn into a grimace that spoke of endless sorrow. "Mom," the voice spoke again from the mirror, pleading yet unrecognizable. She felt chilled to her core, the familiar voice twisted into something sinister. It was in that moment she understood the mirror was a gateway, showcasing the true horror of their situation. Whatever was on the other side knew her fears, her weaknesses. And the shadows? They were waiting, always waiting, feeding off her despair. "And no," she gasped. But it was already too late. Figures began to emerge from the cracks, swirling tendrils of darkness coiling around her limbs. "No! Get away!" She fought against them, clawing at the coldness that seemed to seep into her very soul. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm her, a flash caught her eyes again somewhere, somehow, a promise of her son, alive and reaching for her from beyond the glass. In the chaotic swirl, she heard a different whisper choose. Should she face this dark reflection of herself? Or leap into the unknown, risking it all to reclaim her son from the shadowy grip of despair? The room sealed around her like a trap as the figures closed in, the choice pressing on her like a weight in her chest. What lay ahead could lead to salvation or an eternity bound in torment. Would she find the courage to break free? The door began to shimmer once more behind her, and suddenly, the laughter rose to a feverish pitch, drowning out her thoughts. Would she dare to leap again? Would freedom or destruction beckon? The shadows wrapped tighter around Sarah, the coldness leeching away her strength as the figures continued to emerge from the cracks. Panic clawed at her throat. Each shadow was a manifestation of her guilt, her failures. They whispered her insecurities, "You're not enough. You've already lost him." She felt the weight of their words pressing down, thickening the air until it was hard to breathe. Tendrils of darkness coiled and tightened, sapping her resolve. With every moment, the urge to turn away from the mirror's haunting reflection grew. Yet, Ethan called to her still, his voice a thin line of light piercing the dark. "Mom, I need you." Desperation ignited her spirit. She focused on the shimmer from the door behind her, that glimmer of hope. But the laughter rose to a deafening crescendo, enveloping her in despair, taunting, relentless, weaving a web of despair in the room. "Leave him, Sarah, he has lost to the other side." "No!" Her voice broke free, shattering the hold of those whispers. In that moment, she wasn't just a mother but a warrior fighting for her son. "I won't abandon him." The mirror pulsed with energy, illuminating her face with an eerie light. She raised her hand toward it, her breath shaky yet driven. "I will fight you," she declared, her voice echoing in defiance against the encroaching darkness. She stepped closer, her heart pounding like a drum, each beat demanding she choose, demanding she push through. The figures hesitated, as if her determination disrupted their hold over her. Tendrils flickered, momentarily retreating, revealing glimpses of the shattered world that lay behind the glass. Images of Ethan, laughing, playing, smiling, alive. Each memory filled her with warmth but was smothered by the ever-present terror looming above her. "Choose." The shadows hissed, their voices melding into a ruthless chant. "Face your past or let him go." At that moment, Sarah's gaze locked with what was once her reflection, this empty husk of despair. Angry tears streamed down her face. "You don't define me." With newfound resolve, she surged forward, arms outstretched. The figure shrieked, a cacophony of torment rising as she broke through. Time twisted as her hand pierced the glass, a rush of cold enveloped her, dragging her into the depths. The sensation was weighty, almost viscous, as she felt herself pulled into the other side. The laughter transformed into wails, a haunting chorus echoing in her ears. "Sarah! Help me!" Ethan's voice was louder now, and the darkness recoiled, as if sensing the power in her belief. What met her on the other side wasn't just darkness, it was a playground of shadows, a haunting replica of the world that had been. The remnants of a life bursting with laughter now lay twisted in silence. Time had warped everything, darkened it. Before her lay a vast amphitheater shrouded in mist, a stage littered with broken toys, a domain where laughter met shadows. In the center, a dim light pulsed, a beacon beckoning her closer. "Mom!" Ethan's voice came from beyond the shadows, desperate and scared, but as she moved forward, something shifted in the atmosphere. A presence loomed, someone, or something, was watching her from the edge of the theater's maw. It felt palpable, an ancient evil, eyes burrowed in the depths of the void, hungry, waiting. "Come play with us, Sarah." It whispered, the voice sweet and sickeningly playful, enticing but laden with malice. She turned, heart racing. "Ethan! Where are you?" Her own voice was swallowed by the darkness, drowned out by rising waves of dread. A shiver crept through her as she felt the reality hang in delicate balance. She might have resurrected familiar echoes of her son, or awakened something much worse. Would she regain her childless warmth or lose herself forever in the haunted echoes of despair? The darkness beckoned, and the amphitheater dripped with silent threats. As Sarah advanced, swords of clarity and hesitation pierced through her mind. This was no ordinary rescue. She was stepping deeper into the heart of terror. What horrifying secrets lay ahead, hiding among the playful echoes, and would she ever find Ethan, or had the shadows already sealed his fate? The air shimmered with dread as Sarah moved deeper into the amphitheater. It felt like walking through a nightmare, each whisper and echo tightening the noose around her heart. Shadows twisted, looming over the remnants of what had once been joy, plastic toys marred with decay, a swing swaying gently as if pushed by unseen hands. Her mind raced, each unraveling thought a beat in a war drum warning of the horrors awaiting. "Mom!" Ethan's cry sliced through the thick darkness, pressing her forward. Every step felt like a surrender, a promise broken. The light pulsed with the rhythm of her heartbeat, drawing her closer. But the shadows danced. They closed in, clawing at her, reminding her of every failure, every moment she'd let Ethan down. Each advance promised solace, yet behind her lurked the presence that made her insides churn with fear. "Did you leave him behind?" A shadow spat, slithering past her ankles. "What a shame! A mother unable to protect her child." "Shut up!" she yelled, voice trembling but fierce. Her eyes darted to the darkness surrounding her, looking for any trace of Ethan. The shadows recoiled, a chorus of disdain that reminded her of mirthless laughter echoing from afar. The damp, cold atmosphere thickened, pressing against her chest, stealing her breath. The theater felt alive, a grotesque entity with jagged teeth of despair and loneliness. "You can't win, Sarah," it whispered, seductive and cruel. "Give up. He is already ours." "No!" she screamed, desperation lending her strength. "I won't give up. I'll find him." The arena pulsed with her anger. Tendrils of darkness wavered, flickering like flames. She sensed the solid ground beneath becoming unstable. A sudden rush swirled around her, spiraling outward and forcing her back, but she shoved forward, wrestling against the will of the shadows. With renewed fervor, she charged toward the pulsing light at the center. "Ethan! I'm coming!" The name burst forth, loud and defiant against the oppressive whispers. Her feet barely touched the ground, each leap fueled by a mother's love, reaching out, searching for the warmth of her son. "Mom!" His voice was softer now, laced with fear and urgency. She could feel him. Ethan was close. The shadows thrashed angrily, feeling the disturbance. But then, a wave of darkness crashed over her. It gripped her throat and clawed at her skin, dragging her downward. "You think you can win this battle? You'll be consumed." The invisible claws tightened, leaving her gasping for air. "Mom, help!" Ethan's voice cracked, suddenly distant, echoing with a haunting finality. He was slipping away, trapped in a corner of her heart where shadows grew large and vicious. A vision struck her. Ethan, small and scared, curled up behind broken remnants of their past, under the watchful gaze of a lurking figure that twisted the very air. No! The thought pierced her brain like a dagger. She refused to let the shadows win. Nothing could take him from her now. No more guilt. With a primal roar, she summoned all her strength, determination igniting her core. Sarah pushed against the weight suffocating her, clawing her way back to the light. "No more! I'm bringing him back!" A blinding light surged from within her, forcing the darkness away momentarily. For a split second, everything stilled. The shadows hesitated, but, from the depths, laughter erupted cold and mocking. The voice sang through the air like a siren. "You think you can save him? He belongs to us now." In that instant, the shadows pounced, engulfing her in a swarm of chaos. The luminous beacon of hope flickered dangerously low, but Sarah clawed at the darkness, refusing to surrender. "Don't let go, Ethan!" she cried, and as the world blurred, she realized the fight had just begun. Would her conviction be enough to cut through the deceitful grip of the shadows? At what cost would she awaken the truth behind her son's fading call? As the darkness swirled and divine edges blurred, the terrible truth loomed, hungry for her despair. Would she unravel or prevail in the face of looming doom? The shadows surged, an angry tide swishing around Sarah, pulling her deeper into the void. Panic clawed up her throat. She could taste the bitter fear. "Ethan! She shouted again, but the word echoed back, twisted and drenched in despair. A freezing wind swept through the amphitheater, carrying with it the scent of decay and loneliness. The light in her chest faltered, flickering against the encroaching dark. She fought to focus, her heart pummeling in her chest like a trapped bird. Standing still was a death sentence. She had to move, stumbling over the debris of shattered dreams. Sarah pushed onward. The once familiar playground turned monstrous, swings creaking like the whisper of lost souls. Mom, Ethan's voice rang with desperation, but it felt distant, like a dream she couldn't grasp. Hold on. She surged forward, tearing through the memories that haunted her. But at every turn, the darkness tightened its grip. Tendrils coiled around her wrists, resting her back, their grip like iron claws digging into her flesh. The shadows hissed, "This is your fault, Sarah. You deserve this torment." "Shut up!" she screamed, one hand grasping at the shadows, as if she could physically tear them apart like old paper. But they only laughed, a chorus of sinister glee, taunting and reckless. "You're a fraud. A failure." Guilt fed the darkness. She felt its weight pressing down on her soul, tightening around her throat. In that suffocating moment, a sliver of clarity cut through. She pictured Ethan's face, his bright smile, the way his laughter had filled their home with warmth. "I'm not a failure. I won. Let you take him." With a mighty surge, she pulled herself free from the choking shadows. They recoiled, momentarily dazed by her defiance. Not waiting, Sarah pushed deeper into the labyrinth of nightmares, her breath hitching in her throat. "Ethan!" The name became her battle cry, each syllable an ember of light piercing the darkness ahead. A flicker caught her eye, a glimpse of movement. She rushed toward it, praying for a message from the boy she cherished. "Mom, I'm scared." His voice trembled like a fragile leaf in a storm, sharp and heartfelt. She could hear the tiny hops of his panic as he fought against the chains that bound him. "Ethan! I'm coming." Sarah pressed on, her limbs heavy, but her resolve unwavering. The shadow screeched, thrashing defiantly, trying to snuff out her light. Then she saw him, a small figure crouched beneath a mound of writhing darkness, his face streaked with tears. But the shadows loomed over him, clawing greedily, waiting to snatch him away. "Mom!" Ethan cried, a fresh wave of terror washing over him, giving Sarah strength. In an instant, she reached toward him, grasping the hand that emerged from the shadows. But just as her fingers brushed against his, the ground opened up, swallowing her whole. "Stay away!" A voice roared, an echo of pure evil rolling through the amphitheater, shaking its very foundation. The shadows surged toward her, determined to drag them into a pit of despair. "No!" Sarah screamed, fighting against their grasp, her heart racing. "I've fought too hard to lose him now." Could she withstand the relentless assault? Would love be enough to break through the shackles binding them? Suddenly, the darkness surged, enveloping her and Ethan in an inky blackness that seemed to come alive. Desperation clenched at her chest. She fought against dread's rising tide, heart pounding, blood roaring in her ears. Would they fall into the abyss together, eternally consumed? As the shadows twisted around them like serpents ready to strike, a chilling realization hit her: she might not be alone in this struggle. In the depths of despair, hope flickered, but was it an illusion? With a shrill laugh, the shadows whispered their dark promises, lingering just beyond her reach. The exhilarating yet terrifying truth loomed ominously. What awaited Sarah beyond the dark veil? Would she have to confront her hidden secrets that lurked even deeper, or would the shadows finally claim her and Ethan in their endless night? The darkness churned, shrouding Sarah and Ethan in a suffocating cocoon that tightened with every desperate breath. As the abyss grasped at her, the chilling presence of something sinister became unmistakable. The shadows weren't merely a void, they were alive, pulsating with ancient resentment. "Ethan!" Panic tore through her chest. She could feel him there, close yet so painfully far. "I'm right here." But the only reply was a haunting echo, the sound of her own voice twisted and mocked by the insidious laughter swirling through the void. Mustering every ounce of her remaining strength, she drew a deep breath and surged forward, fighting the cold claws that threatened to pin her down. "Let go of him!" she screamed, thrusting her hands into the thick, writhing blackness, only to feel the shadows sizzle and burn at her touch. The pain was jagged and raw, but the thought of losing Ethan ignited a fierce fire within her. Drifting at the edge of her awareness, she glimpsed a glimpse of light, a flicker of hope that fought against the dark. "This way," she whispered, urging Ethan with her heart. Though her voice trembled, her spirit had begun to ignite with determination. The shadows hissed, weaving tighter, their voices a cold chorus. "You can't save him. You have nothing left to give." Their taunting sent chills rippling through her, dampening her resolve. "I don't care," she replied fiercely, words echoing as she fought against the grip of despair. Each step was a battle, but Sarah forced herself to move forward. She remembered the warmth of Ethan's laughter, his humor, his innocence. Those memories whispered to her, pushing her onward in an unlikely dance with the encroaching dark. Through gasps and sobs, she clawed ahead, her eyes straining to see through the thickening shadow. "Ethan!" A disembodied echo wrapped around her, thickening the tension, but she refused to be gripped by fear. "Please, Ethan. Just hold on." Then, with a sudden jolt, she felt another presence near her, a fleeting warmth in the chilling dark. Something was moving toward her, a shadow against shadows, and it wasn't familiar. A figure emerged, indistinct and towering, dark against the oppressive gloom. "Mom!" Ethan cried again, his voice wrapping around her like a lifeline. "Stay back!" came the booming voice, raw and primal, scattering the shadows for just a heartbeat. Unable to fight the rising fear, Sarah ducked, instinctively shielding her face. "Who are you?" Her voice trembled, bouncing off unseen walls. The entity loomed closer yet remained obscured, shifting like smoke. It laughed, deep and guttural, the sound writhing around her like smoke coiling through the air. "Just a guide or perhaps a trap," it teased, its tone dripping with malevolence. "No!" Fury ignited her strength. "I would never choose a monster over my son." The figure shifted, and for a fleeting moment, she caught a glimpse of twisted features, eyes that burned with a cruel light. "Your son is already mine," it taunted, and the shadow surged again, hungry and ruthless. Sarah felt panic rip through her. Could she fight this dark specter? She needed to find Ethan, to shield him from whatever malevolence lay ahead. Something flickered inside, a memory belonging to her past, unfamiliar yet stirring. Voices blurred, whispering the secrets she'd hidden away, memories of failure she thought had been buried for good. Did they hold the key to their escape? "Ethan! I don't know how much longer I can hold them off," she shouted, the urgency pulsing within her. Just then, a shrill scream cut through the air, echoing with Ethan's name, and it cut deeper into her heart. "Mom! I'm right here!" But the shadows rushed back, furious and relentless fingers clawing towards her. In a moment of reckless clarity, she realized this was more than a battle for survival, it was a fight for their very essence. Would they break apart? Or would the severed bonds keep them forever shackled in the grip of darkness? The chilling question wormed its way into her heart, but before she could grasp an answer, the ground trembled beneath her feet. Whatever lay ahead was waiting for Sarah to decide what part of her past she would embrace or cast aside. And in the waiting silence colored by shadows, she felt the very essence of dread creeping closer. Where would this path take her? Could she piece together the broken scatter of her memories to bring them together again? The tormenting laughter echoed louder, the abyss gaping wide, a promise of unfathomable despair. What truth would reveal itself in the depths of darkness? "Ethan!" Sarah's voice emerged raw, desperate, echoing through the murky shadows that threatened to swallow her whole. Each call felt like a prayer, each heartbeat a countdown against despair. The coldness wrapped around her, squeezing tightly, but there was warmth flickering somewhere within, urging her forward. "Mom!" His voice teetered between fear and hope, piercing through the shroud of darkness like a blade. It wasn't just a cry, it was a lifeline pulling her back towards him. It became a tether, a reminder of that unconditional bond that surged through her veins. "You're here!" she shouted, pushing through the dense fog engulfing her. With each step, she could feel the shadows writhing, hissing angrily at the audacity of her courage. "I'm coming, Ethan. Hold on." The ground felt unstable beneath her, but she wouldn't falter. She refused to allow despair to quench the flickering flame of love she carried. A shimmering light beckoned from deeper within the shadows. She staggered toward it, her heart racing. "Ethan! Where are you?" She could almost see a shape, a boy crouched beneath the weight of the encroaching darkness. Each inch felt monumental, but she wouldn't yield now, no way. The shadows screeched like banshees, clawing at her clothing, seeking to drag her back into their embrace, but she fought, unleashing every ounce of determination. "I won't let you take him," she cried out, summoning her will. The laughter morphed to screams, echoing around her as the shadowy figure shrank back slightly, taken aback by her resolve. But finally, through the haze, she spotted him there, trapped and bound in shadows, his little face streaked with tears, eyes wide with fear. The sight drew a sob from her throat. "Ethan!" She lunged toward him, the darkness swirling angrily around her as if enraged by her defiance. "Mom, help!" he whimpered, the shadows clawing at him like grasping hands. Around her, the darkness writhed, ready to pull them both into an unending abyss. Panic surged through her, but she threw every ounce of her being into reaching him. The thing looming behind Ethan, an amalgamation of nightmares, laughed sinisterly, taunting her with twisted versions of her own insecurities. "You can't save him. He is lost to the darkness." But Sarah's heart swelled with an undeniable truth. "No. He is my son. He belongs with me." With renewed strength, she dove towards Ethan, not feeling the pinches of ice that clawed at her. She reached him, cradling his small face in her hands, lips trembling with the weight of emotion. "We'll get through this together, I promise." Her voice rang out, buoyed by determination. In that moment, something shifted. The shadows twisted and screamed, the taunts turning into wails of anger. "You think you can break us?" The dark specter loomed, its voice a low growl that rattled the very core of Sarah's being. But she wouldn't flinch. She squeezed Ethan's hand, love amplifying into an unstoppable force. "Not today," she shouted, feeling warmth surging from within. It radiated like sunlight breaking through dense clouds. "We won't be cast aside." The shadows shrieked against her resilience, their grip loosening as they recoiled from her unyielding spirit. Drawing her son closer, they faced the looming figure together. "You will never take him. I am his mother, and I fight with everything I have." Light erupted from her, enveloping them both, a warm, radiant glow powerful enough to pierce through the thickest darkness. The creature shrieked, the sound dissolving into the air like shattered glass. The shadows began to retract, their hold failing as light surged forth, illuminating the amphitheater in a vibrant brilliance that rendered the gloom powerless. The remnants of the past fear, guilt, despair floated away like leaves caught in a gentle breeze, leaving a sense of freedom in their wake. "Mom!" Ethan cried, wrapping his little arms around her waist, his voice stronger now, filled with belief. "You found me." "Yes, baby, I won't let you go again." Sarah wept, the shadows dissolving into nothingness. They embraced, warmth enveloping them. Dissolving the fears that had clawed at them for so long. Together, they took a step forward, leaving the remnants of the haunted amphitheater behind. The air felt lighter, filled with the scent of fresh earth and blooming flowers, as if life was being restored. As they reached the amphitheater's entrance, a glimmer of dawn broke over the horizon, washing the darkness away completely, a promise of new beginnings. The shadows retreated, silenced by the strength of their unbreakable bond. "I knew you'd come for me." Ethan beamed, and in that moment, Sarah felt every sacrifice, every tear, every whisper of fear fade into the background. They had fought together, won together. With a final glance back, she felt a sense of closure. The dark tales that haunted the amphitheater would remain, but she had reclaimed her son. And they would face the world together, undefeated. "Let us go home," she smiled, squeezing his small hand. A warmth blossomed within her as they stepped into the light, ready for whatever came next. The journey had tested their strength, but they emerged stronger, their bond unyielding, their hearts entwined in a love that could vanquish any shadow. Now, it's your turn to join the adventure. You need to subscribe now for more thrilling tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash the like button now to show your support and help us feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this haunting adventure, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to join in on the thrill. Stand with us as we uncover more chilling stories. Your support truly matters.